Hi, I'm just going to make that a little bit of a bigger screen before I start. So, um, my name's Jo. I am a mum and a blogger, sort of person. I talk a lot about using AAC, which is augmentative and or alternative communication methods. Because I have a little girl who uses AAC and I used to be a speech therapist. Um, I also have a hobby of being a leader in girl guiding, which is quite recent, in the last couple of years, in fact, because my little girl Lucy joined Rainbows, and initially I went along just to help settle her in. And I used to be in guiding and scouting many years ago, and I kind of got drawn back in. And so, what I thought I might do that I thought might be useful and interesting is just to talk a little bit about some of the ways we've used AAC to support Lucy to access the Girl Guiding programme. Because there are some elements of the programme that have been quite easy for her to access and easy for us to support her to access. So Lucy is a full-time wheelchair user, so for games and running around games, actually she loves just joining in with an adult pushing the chair, and we're usually a little bit behind everybody else and just kind of catching up, but she loves those kinds of things. With crafts, she quite enjoys a little bit of tactile experience holding on to things, but there are some things that are a bit trickier to look at how that actually might work, particularly when activities involve like a writing or creative component, or have some kind of complexity around them. So I thought I would just talk through some of the things that we've done and how we have incorporated using the alternative and augmentative communication in various ways through her experience in Rainbows. The first thing that we started with was doing the Makaton sign of the week within Rainbows. So we were talking each week about the new sign and whether the sign looked like the thing that we were talking about or not. So if you're not familiar with Makaton, it's actually a language system, a language learning program, really more than a language, but it uses hand gestures and hand signs to say certain things. So for example, this would be hello, and there are lots and lots of different signs. I'm trying to think which ones we've done. We've done things like tree, I'm sure, was one of the ones we did. We did whatever came up as word of the week, and for a little while it was alphabet type. So that was quite a nice way of introducing different ways of communicating with the Rainbows. But actually, Lucy doesn't really use Makaton. I think she understands a little bit of it, and people use it around her, but she doesn't use it herself massively. She uses symbol communication, which some you might have seen. This is an example. Oh, I've got the blur on, so it's hard to kind of... There, you can see that there. So we have a symbol communication chart, and these are symbols that represent different words, and I'm going to come back to talking about that a little bit later. There are lots and lots of different methods of AAC. Some of them are like paper, like what I just showed you. Some of them use natural gesture. Sometimes it's a sign system like Makaton, which a lot of people have heard of because of Mr. Tumble. Sometimes there's an electronic system involved as well that actually speaks the words out. And there's such a lot I could talk to you about that, but you could look that up elsewhere. But what I wanted to talk about is some of the kind of things we've done. So I'm quite enjoying this new software. This is called Loom, and it means I can quite quickly do a video and show you some stuff. So I thought I had a photo up to look at. Oh heck, okay. Just bear with me a minute. I did okay, I had a picture already and all queued up, and I think somewhere along the line I seem to have got rid of it. Just bear with me. I'm now looking through all my photos and videos to try and show you this one video from when Lucy had just joined Rainbow. So I'll tell you a little bit about what it is. So not long after she joined Rainbows, Lucy got a high-tech AAC device, actually an iPad with some specialist software on it. And the software with lots and lots of words, but you can also create specific things. And what we did was we programmed the device so it just had the promise on it. So that is what I'm going to show you. I'm not going to do any editing on this. This is life. Sometimes you have something ready and then it disappears. But I know you know when you're scrolling through photographs and you've got thousands and thousands, I know exactly where it is, what date it is, but I keep going too far forward or too far back. I'll concentrate on this for a moment. 2018, 2019. We're getting there. A little bit further through. Before or after this. I know which date it was. There we are. Okay, so just going to play you this video. So what we've got here is an iPad, and you can get free softwares that you could program something like this onto something, and various devices that I'm sure kids would let you borrow from school if you wanted to do something like this. But what we did was programmed her promise onto the iPad. So here we go. So there we go. That is her making her rainbow promise. And obviously she's just pressing it once, but she's got that participation, that idea of sharing that standard. And in the end, what we ended up doing through our time in Rainbows, because she's not always so great at timing and things, is Lucy tends to lead the promise. So she starts saying her promise, everybody else joins in, and that's really worked nicely since we've gone back after COVID, because she's actually one of the older Rainbows, and so it gives her that bit of a leadership component that's part of guiding, and while it might seem like because of her learning disabilities and things that will be difficult, actually that little thing really helps her be a leader within the unit. So the other thing that I thought I would talk to you a little bit about is just thinking about some of the components of badges. Lucy's done loads of badges. I'm not going to tell you everything that we've done for all of them, but I've just taken as an example the nature badge, and to talk through what we did for that. So there are 3 components: draw the seasons, woodland collection, and grow a plant. And for draw the seasons, we just did a little sheet in 4 parts, with a symbol for the seasons in each corner. You wouldn't have to use a symbol. You could just use the word or a picture. And what Lucy did was we talked about what colours you might see in that season. So we got pictures up on her iPad, just like random pictures of winter, and we talked about white and cold. So although she might not understand the word winter, it's quite a tricky concept, we were doing kind of matching. Well, let's look at this. This is a picture of winter. It's white, it's cold. Let's get a white crayon. Let's do some colouring in white, or maybe let's, what does a snowman look like? So we were thinking about what are the simple words. So similar for autumn, we did a lot about red, and we talked about things falling. And throughout that, it was as much as saying the words and talking about them, but then doing a bit of colour matching. So, look, here's some pictures of autumn, and there are lots of red leaves. Let's find a red pen, and saying that over again. And then supporting her. Usually for her, it's us holding a pen and her kind of moving our hand around. That's how I tend to do that at home. So that's how we simplified Draw the Seasons. For Woodland Collection, the unit were doing this through lockdown. So we'd sent out some sheets that had pictures of different tree leaves and things. And what we did is we went and we talked about what we could see. And this is why I wanted to show you this. I might just make this bit a little bit. Can I make my screen a bit bigger so you can see more of it, maybe? Yeah. So this is a paper resource that mirrors what's on Lucy's device. And this has got what we call core words that are a load of really simple words that we use absolutely loads and loads in our general communication. So a lot of kids, if they've got a communication aid or are doing some kind of communication work through school and at home, chances are they're going to have something that's got some core words on it. And so when we did the Woodland collection, we used this. So a lot of the time it was her looking around, and if she noticed something, I would say, oh, can you see the tree? Look, can you see the tree? So I was using AAC and sort of creating the task at her level, which is to learn a simple word, and it's about looking at something and seeing it. And then the growing a plant, we grew a plant. It's quite tactile and visual, and there's things to do about that. But again, each day you could be saying, look. So that's an example of an interest badge. And you can do similar modifications we found for quite a lot of the skills builders and the UMAs and things like that. Where things get a little bit tricky are where there is something kind of written almost or quite creative. So Lucy has almost completed her Gold Award. She's got all her theme awards. So people who are involved in girl guiding will understand that. If anybody's listening to this from the AAC community, they might be thinking, what are they? I'm not even going to try and explain them. They're badges. But the Gold Award, when you've finished all those badges, you can get your Gold Award. And there are 3 things you need to do. You need to make your promise and do something to tell other girls about, or tell other people about what you've done in rainbows, and also find some things out about brownies. So for Make Your Promise, what I have done is sort of changed up what's on her communication aid, so she has to press 3 buttons and it's in 3 parts, so she now has to do each bit at a time. So although maybe some of the words still don't have meaning, it's words that she's really familiar with. She's been saying them on a weekly basis. But now we're making that progression to kind of, okay, so you've got 3. There are 3 bits to this promise. There are 3 bits. And so it's still a task that's really achievable for her, but it's a bit simpler. So that's what we've done there. We've been doing the thing about telling your rainbow unit about what your time in rainbows. So that is quite when we look at what we're asking the girls to do, doesn't matter how you share your journey, you could make a poster, you could make a display. And I think for most girls at Rainbow's age, they're going to maybe need a little bit of support with that. Maybe a bit of scaffolding, a bit of structure in it. So what we have done for Lucy, I just pop this up. I use Google Slides quite a lot to create things for her. So we created a slideshow. And initially I'd thought what we might do, Lucy has a big keyboard, like a multicolored keyboard that we can just plug into the computer, and she scribbles. It's just like a child with better fine motor skills scribbling, but she just like kind of hits all the keys. So initially I thought we might do that. We have actually taken a slightly different approach to it, but I put the pictures into the presentation. So there we have when she got her uniform, we have her doing some crafts with Daddy during lockdown, clapping for carers, sleeping, cooking outside during lockdown, eating outside. Oh, this is the woodland, the nature badge that I was talking about. So we had this sheet that had been sent out to all the rainbows, and we were looking at whether things were the same and using that word see a lot when we went out on that walk. Here are some of the badges. Looking at her badges on her blanket, we did loads of badges, not just girl guiding ones in lockdown. And various other activities that we're involved in, getting certificates, doing videos for the other rainbows with Mummy, getting our silver and bronze awards. So I created that to sort of as a starting point. And then what we've actually done, here we go, is I've used kind of a letter board bigger than this that she can access a bit better. And she's just been looking at or pointing at letters, and then I'm writing them down. And then I'm saying something like, well, hey, I would write this like I'm a rainbow. And we've done a few different papers. We're still working on it, still work in progress. It's just tied in a knot. We've got some few more pages to do. But then she's got something to look back over. And because I'm a bit of a speech therapy geek, I'm actually thinking then in the future, if we're looking at learning verbs, she's got pictures of herself doing some of these things that we can talk about. But she's also got her own written work, which is her randomly pointing at things and me writing it down and then going, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, look, you wrote the word eating. This is how I would write it. So I thought that was a way of getting involved. Another thing that we've done is I've laminated the pages and then stuck like furniture feet in between. So actually she can turn those pages quite easily for herself, because if the laminate pages all stuck together, then she doesn't have the fine motor control to open them up. The other thing that we've spent some time doing in terms of the bit about preparing for brownies is looking at the brownie handbook. But also there's a resource, an online resource called Tar Heel Reader, which provides these. It's a really, really simple framework, and you can really easily make a book. It gives you all the framework. You put in a picture, type in some simple words, and it creates a book that you can actually operate on a computer. So you could have it on an iPad and be pressing these. You can make these buttons bigger and all kinds of things as well. So we made an electronic book all about girl guiding and the sections and what uniforms they're wearing. And we kind of went through that and looked at which pictures she was really interested in. She stared at this one a lot, and this is actually what we've ordered for her uniform. Those leggings and that t-shirt, so that's handy. The images here are from Lisa's Girl Guiding Illustrations, which is a Facebook page. There's loads of amazing stuff on there. I did get in touch with Lisa and she gave permission for me to use these images for this. And if we go actually to the home page, there are loads of books that you could use for anything else. If you search Girl Guiding, then that one comes up. You do need to be careful of the ratings, because this is a tool that leaves for adult things as well. But if I put in, for example, spring, here we've got a general seasons one. So actually for things like the nature badge, if somebody was accessing things on an iPad, they could look at a simple book, or you can actually download you can download them. This is like me in the summer. You can download them and use them on PowerPoint or whatever. So that's quite a useful tool for some simple stuff. So those are some of the things that we've done to make the Girl Guiding programme more accessible for Lucy, and particularly those areas that might be a little bit more complicated. What we've done is thought about, well, what are the simple concepts that she can use here? So for example, in crafts, we might be using the idea of more and stop. I like it, I don't like it. So she can talk about, or we can model what we think if she's pushing something away. Oh, you don't like that colour, let's not use that colour. And I've really enjoyed being creative about with the team who've been really great about the adaptation plan and having Lucy involved in rainbows. We've had a lot of fun. We're now getting ready for her to go up to brownies. I'm not going with her. So it's going to be a new chapter and a really lovely way for her to be involved in her community and in an organisation that's been really important to us as a family as well. So I hope some of that's been useful or interesting. And yeah, I'll post this on, I'll just make that a bit bigger. I'll post this on my social media pages if you want to have a look at the video, and there's some links to other things in the blog site as well. But if anybody else has other ideas about adapting things for somebody who's using AAC in Girl Guiding or Scouting, I'd love to hear. And maybe there's some more things we can do together. Okay, thank you. Bye.